Hi guys, in this video we talk about the pagan temple of Kaaba. Soon after entering Mecca, the Prophet went to the Kaaba, took its key from Uthman bin Talha and entered it. Ibn Ishaq records. There he found a dove made of wood. He broke it in his hands and threw it away. Next he turned to the idols which were housed in and around the temple. They were 360 in number. The apostle was standing by them with a stick in his hand, saying, "The truth has come and falsehood has passed away. Verily, falsehood is bound to pass away." This is mentioned in Surah 17.82. Then he pointed at them with his stick, and they collapsed on their backs one after the other. When the apostle prayed the noon prayer on the day of the conquest, he ordered that all the idols which were round the Kaaba should be collected and burned with fire and broken up. Fadala bi al-Mulawi al-Laythi said, commemorating the day of the conquest, "Had you seen Muhammad and his troops the day the idols were smashed when he entered, you should have seen God's light become manifest and darkness covering the face of idolatry." Another account says, biographical works are filled with the accounts of this proceeding, and that 360 idols, the greatest whereof was Hobal, had been erected by the idolaters around the Kaaba. In some copies we read that Iblis had fixed the bases of all these idols underground with lead, but that nevertheless, when the apostles of Allah touched them with the lance or stick he had in his hands and uttered the words, "Truth had come and falsehood has departed," the idols fell on their faces at mere touch of the staff. There is a tradition ascribed to Abdullah B. Abbas that whenever his lordship pointed on that day to the face of an idol, the same immediately fell on its back, and whenever he pointed to the back, it fell on its face. The Islamic lore has thus turned into a miracle what was actually a show of brute physical force. Muhammad, quote-unquote, Muhammad, when he entered Mecca as victor, is stated to have struck them in the eyes with his bow after he had them dragged down and destroyed by fire. The quote ends. The burning of the idols gave rise to another story in Islamic lore. Upon the conquest of Mecca, the Prophet cut open some of these idols with his sword, and black smoke is said to have issued forth from them, a sign of the psychic influence which had made these idols their dwelling place. One wonders what else except smoke could have come out when objects made of stone and wood were burnt. It is the privilege of Islamic lore to invest smoke with psychic power. Hubal, the principal idol in the Kaaba, quote-unquote, was pulled down and used as a doorstep when the Prophet conquered Mecca and purified the Kaaba. This particular practice of the Prophet set up a pious precedent which was followed extensively when Islamic iconoclasm arrived in India. Many Hindu idols ended at the doorsteps of the principal mosques, not only in Muslim capitals within India such as Ghazni, Kabul, Lahore, Multan, Nagaur, Ajmer, Delhi, Jaunpur, Gaur, Daulatabad, Mandu, Ahmedabad, Gulbarga, Bidar, Bijapur, Ahmednagar, Golconda, Dhaka and Murshidabad, but also in far-off places like Baghdad, Mecca and Medina. The other stones which were worshipped as idols were actually used as cornerstones of the Kaaba, and as such we must consider also the Maqam Ibrahim. This too was a pious precedent which was followed extensively in India. A large number of mosques and other Muslim monuments in India have Hindu idols or their pieces embedded in their masonry. There was only one idol which the Prophet not only spared but also consecrated with his kiss, so that every Muslim who performs Hajj is expected to do the same. This was the black stone now described pompously as Al-Hajar al-Aswad. The Muslims present on the occasion felt puzzled by the Prophet's partiality for this particular stone. They were informed that the black stone had descended directly from heaven. According to a well-known tradition or a hadith from Ibn Abbas, the Prophet told his people, quote-unquote, "By Allah, Allah will lift it up on the last day. It will have 2 eyes with which it will see, it will have a tongue with which it will speak, and stand witness for that man who had kissed it earnestly." Other people's idols are stones, while one's own stone is God's spokesman. Many of his followers must have remained unimpressed by the mysterious pronouncement. A few years later, Caliph Umar of AD 632-44, while kissing the black stone, is reported to have said, "I know that you are a stone which can neither help nor hurt. I would not have kissed you had I not witnessed the Prophet of Allah kissing you." Idols were not only quote-unquote abominations which the Prophet had to take care of in the Kaaba. Ibn Ishaq Okay, idols were not the only abominations which the Prophet had to take care of in the Kaaba. Ibn Ishaq and other biographers of the Prophet report that the Quraysh had put pictures in the Kaaba, including two of Jesus, son of Mary and Mary. The apostle ordered that the pictures would be raised except those of Jesus and Mary. According to a tradition, as Umar began to wash out the pictures with the water of the well known as Zamzam, Muhammad placed his hand on the pictures of Jesus and Mary and said, "Wash out all except what is below my hands." He then withdrew his hand. There is no reason to doubt that the walls of the Kaaba carried paintings. Pagans have always been as fond of presenting their pantheon and mythology through color as through carving, but it is pure invention that the paintings included those of Jesus and Mary. The pagans who had maintained the Kaaba and decorated its walls with paintings were not only not enamored of the Christian God and his mother, they actually entertained abhorrence for them. Allah himself says in the Quran that the disbelievers show disrespect for Isa. Referring to Umar's act of effacing the paintings, Margoliouth observes, quote-unquote, "Whom or what they represented we know only on Muhammad's authority, which we are not inclined to trust." Scholars have made several speculations regarding the Prophet's attitude to the Kaaba. Basing themselves on legends found in the biographies of the Prophet, some say that he had reverence for the national sanctuary but regretted its misuse by the pagans. Some others say that when he changed the Qibla from the temple in Jerusalem to the Kaaba in Mecca, he did so in order to conciliate Arab national sentiment. We do not know the personal feelings of the youthful Muhammad towards the Kaaba and the Meccan cult, but they were presumably of a conventional nature. What the biography of the Prophet tells us about his Meccan period in this respect can lay no claim to historical value. The Meccan revelations tell us nothing about these revelations during the important period in the life of the Prophet. In any case, he felt no enthusiasm for the Meccan sanctuary. In fact, there is a tradition that he wanted to destroy the Kaaba. Aisha has reported him as saying to her that, "If your people had not renounced ignorance promptly and become Muslims, I would have demolished the Kaaba and rebuilt it with two doors." The tradition seems to be authentic because it inspired demolition and rebuilding of the Kaaba on two subsequent occasions. When Abdullah bin Zubair heard this tradition, he destroyed the building of the Quraysh whilst he held sway and rebuilt the Kaaba according to the intentions of his lordship, the last of the prophets. When, however, Hajjaj bin Yusuf undertook by order of Abdul Malik Marwan, AD 685 to 705, a campaign against Abdullah bin Zubair and vanquished him, he destroyed the edifice built by the latter at the command of the same Khalifa and re-erected it as the Quraysh had built it during the lifetime of his holy and prophetic lordship. When Harun-ur-Rashid became Khalifa, he desired to annihilate the edifice of Marwan and to rebuild the Kaaba according to the model of Abdullah bin Zubair. On this subject, he consulted the Imam Malik, but the latter replied, "O Commander of the Faithful, let the Kaaba alone. Let it not become the sport of kings." Accordingly, Harun renounced his intention. What was this building of the Quraysh which Ibn Zubair demolished and Hajjaj restored? This much is clear from Muslim accounts that it was a pagan temple housing the idols of many gods. These accounts, however, insist that in the ancient past it was a place of monotheistic worship consecrated by Abraham. There is only one Muslim account which preserves the pagan tradition. According to Al-Masudi, Muruj 447, certain people have regarded the Kaaba as a temple devoted to the sun, the moon and the 5 planets. The 360 idols placed around the Kaaba also point in the same direction. It can therefore hardly be denied that traces exist of an astral symbolism. That the Kaaba was a center of sun worship is also confirmed by whatever memories of the pre-Islamic Hajj survive in Muslim accounts. As soon as the sun was visible, the ifada to Mina used to begin in pre-Islamic times. Muhammad therefore ordained that this should begin before sunrise. Here again we have the attempt to destroy a solar rite. In ancient times, they are said to have sung during the ifada, "Ashrik Thabir Kaima Nugir." The explanation of these words is uncertain. It is sometimes translated, "Enter into the light of morning, Thabir, so that we may hasten." It is pointed out by apologists of Islam that the Prophet did not convert the pagan temple into a mosque and that he only restored it restored it to what it used to be in Abraham's time. We know that the Abraham story about the Kaaba is a fabrication floated after the Prophet had left Mecca and quarreled with the Jews of Medina, and there was no specific architectural design for a mosque developed during the lifetime of the Prophet. Any structure in any shape could serve the purpose. For the rest, everything that needs to be done for depriving a place of its pagan character and converting into a place of Islamic worship was done by the Prophet. The conversion of the temple at Mecca into a mosque was complete when Bilal stood on the roof of the Kaaba and recited Azan.